In a shocking disclosure that's sending ripples across Hollywood, iconic director Steven Spielberg has allegedly delivered a behind-the-scenes caution to Disney about Rachel Zegler's conduct, urging them to proceed cautiously before entrusting her with a billion-dollar franchise like Snow White. And if the whispers are accurate, he wasn't merely providing a courteous heads-up. He was attempting to prevent a catastrophe. Spielberg doesn't speak lightly. This is a man who helped define the very core of modern filmmaking. So when he allegedly informed Disney that Zegler's demeanor on West Side Story raised concerns, it wasn't a trivial complaint. It was a professional alarm bell. According to sources, Spielberg reportedly cautioned that her attitude could derail the entire venture.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
They're remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group. You just erased that whole...
A new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of...
And now, observing the fallout from Snow White, it's difficult not to ponder if he was correct all along. Zegler soared to stardom as Maria in Spielberg's reimagining of West Side Story, a role that established her as Hollywood's next big star. But nearly as swiftly as she ascended, fractures began to appear. While her on-screen work garnered acclaim, off-screen accounts depicted a starkly different reality. Set tensions, a diva-like persona, and a sense of entitlement that reportedly clashed even with Spielberg. It wasn't long before she became the face of Disney's Snow White remake, a divisive decision that sparked an uproar online.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings?
Yeah,
They won't even
7
say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves?
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million.
The backlash was swift and severe, driven by her insensitive interviews, dismissive views on the classic film, and a rising perception that she was ungrateful for the roles that propelled her. Critics called her disrespectful. Fans deemed her detached. Executives began to panic. And amid it all, rumors circulated that Spielberg had attempted to caution them. They simply didn't heed. From acclaimed newcomer to public relations fiasco, Zegler's journey has become a...
Oh my God.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely atrocious.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphor?
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Modern Hollywood cautionary tale. And now, with Snow White flopping at the box office and Rachel's image in steep decline, all attention is turning back to Spielberg's alleged warning. Was this the moment the collapse began? Did one of the most influential directors in the world foresee what others refused to acknowledge? This isn't merely a case of a young star faltering under scrutiny.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Hardcore. They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Last week was a very big week, objectively a huge week. We had quite a few announcements as a first live action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me. I'm Snow White, which is so funny.
I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
It's a lesson in hubris, accountability, and what transpires when the machinery of fame elevates someone too rapidly and doesn't question whether they're prepared for the limelight. Rachel Zegler's descent from grace is no longer conjecture. It's unfolding in real time. And at the heart of it all is one lingering question. What precisely did Steven Spielberg observe behind the scenes, and why did Disney disregard him? But that's just the start. Because once we explore Spielberg's alleged frustrations, the turmoil on the West Side Story set, and how it all escalated into one of Disney's grandest live-action disasters, you'll see precisely how this fairy tale turned into a PR nightmare. Behind the glossy red carpet events and glowing reviews following West Side Story's release, a vastly different story was allegedly unfolding on set, and Steven Spielberg, the man who handpicked Rachel Zegler for the starring role, was reportedly the first to witness it unravel. According to several insiders close to the production, Spielberg began to detect patterns in Zegler's conduct that caused concern. Initially, it was subtle. Offhand remarks, tensions with crew, minor disputes that escalated too quickly. But, over time, the issues reportedly grew into outright frustration. Sources claim that Spielberg, renowned for running disciplined yet respectful sets, found Zegler's demeanor challenging to handle. While she aced the audition and shone on camera, it was what occurred between takes that allegedly strained their working dynamic. The breaking point, insiders say, was when Spielberg privately shared with his trusted circle that Zegler was not prepared for the level of superstardom Hollywood was thrusting upon her. He allegedly described her as gifted but unpredictable, and cautioned that if her attitude wasn't curbed, it could become a liability in future projects. And here's where things get explosive. According to a well-connected studio source, Spielberg didn't keep these concerns private. He reportedly reached out to Disney via informal channels, murmurs at industry events, discreet calls to casting decision-makers, and urged them to reconsider before placing Zegler at the helm of a major IP like Snow White. This wasn't petty rivalry. It wasn't a subtle criticism. It was Spielberg doing what any experienced director would do when they see trouble brewing. He cautioned them. But the warning was ignored, whether because Disney had already invested heavily in the Zegler brand, or they simply refused to admit a mistake. They pressed forward regardless. And now, with Snow White mired in controversy and backlash, Spielberg's alleged cautionary words resonate louder than ever. In an industry where silence is often prized, Spielberg's choice to speak, even in whispers, might be the most powerful statement of all. When Rachel Zegler secured the coveted role of Maria in West Side Story, it was hailed as the ultimate Cinderella tale, a teenage newcomer with a voice to rival Broadway veterans, chosen by Steven Spielberg himself to lead a $100 million Oscar-worthy musical remake. But behind the polished PR campaign, crew members reportedly observed something far less enchanting. Sources within the production claimed that Zegler's behavior grew increasingly problematic as filming progressed. Initially, it was attributed to nerves. After all, she was a newcomer in a high-stakes setting. But patterns soon emerged. Reports suggested Zegler frequently challenged direction, questioned script revisions, and clashed with department heads over everything from lighting decisions to costume fittings. One crew member allegedly called her entitled, saying she acted like a star long before she'd earned that status. It wasn't just crew noticing. Some castmates reportedly kept their distance, avoiding unnecessary conflict. And while none of her co-stars have publicly criticized her, sources claimed the set atmosphere grew tense whenever she was present. According to one assistant director who later spoke anonymously, there were days when Zegler's mood swings set the tone for the entire shoot. But perhaps most telling were whispers that even Spielberg, who had once staunchly defended Zegler's casting despite initial studio resistance, began to feel regret. He reportedly had to mediate several behind-the-scenes disputes involving Zegler and remind her multiple times that talent didn't excuse disrespect toward collaborators. While he never voiced these concerns publicly, his demeanor allegedly shifted by the end of production. What began as mentorship slowly turned into oversight. All of this baggage didn't just remain on the West Side Story set. It reportedly followed Zegler into meetings, auditions, and high-stakes talks about future projects. So when Disney approached with Snow White, the question wasn't, can she handle it? It was, should we even risk it? And while Disney bet on her, believing they had the next big star, it's now evident the warning signs were there all along. Spielberg reportedly saw them, others felt them, but the system kept moving. And that choice may have cost Disney dearly. Zegler's tenure as Snow White has been a complete PR catastrophe. What should have been a career-defining moment, stepping into one of Disney's most iconic roles, quickly spiraled into a public relations quagmire. It all started with her eyebrow-raising interviews, where she called the 1937 animated original weird, creepy, and not a love story worth retelling. Instead of honoring the legacy she was inheriting, she dismissed it outright, labeling the original outdated and flawed. The response was immediate and harsh. Fans who cherished the classic felt insulted. Film historians criticized her for showing what they called staggering disrespect toward a beloved piece of animation history. And even casual moviegoers began questioning why Disney would entrust such a legendary role to someone who seemed to resent it. What made it worse, Zegler doubled down. In multiple press appearances, she reiterated variations of the same message, emphasizing that her Snow White would be a radical departure. While reimagining a classic isn't inherently problematic, doing so while alienating the original fan base turned a potential box office hit into a full-scale controversy. By the time the film reached theaters, the damage was done. Headlines focused more on Zegler's comments than the film itself. The box office figures were catastrophic, barely surpassing $190 million worldwide on a budget that reportedly soared past $240 million. It was one of Disney's most humiliating live-action flops in recent memory. And while other factors played a role, many critics, fans, and even insiders pointed fingers squarely at Zegler. Her tone-deaf remarks had alienated audiences before. A single ticket was sold. For some, it was a clear case of studios ignoring optics and audience loyalty in favor of forced modern messaging. For others, it proved what Spielberg allegedly tried to warn about all along, that casting Zegler was a gamble they couldn't afford. And now, with Snow White's failure tarnishing both her reputation and Disney's live-action record, it's hard not to ask, was this preventable? The entertainment industry has taken note of the unfolding drama. While some defend Zegler's right to voice her views, others argue that her actions have harmed her projects and peers. The situation has reportedly strained relationships with industry professionals and may have impacted casting decisions for future roles. Comparisons have been made to other actors whose careers suffered due to public controversies, highlighting the fragile nature of fame in the digital era. In response to the criticism, Zegler has issued statements attempting to clarify her intentions and express gratitude for the opportunities she's received. Despite the upheaval, she continues to land roles, including an upcoming project alongside Marika Tomei. The success of these ventures may determine whether she can restore her public image and regain her standing in Hollywood. However, the lingering effects of the Snow White controversy suggest the path ahead may be daunting. The alleged warning from Steven Spielberg serves as a stark reminder of the importance of professionalism and public perception in the entertainment industry. Rachel Zegler's journey from celebrated newcomer to controversial figure underscores the delicate balance actors must strike between personal expression and professional duties. As Disney and other studios navigate the fallout, the situation prompts broader discussions about casting, representation, and the evolving expectations placed on public figures. Only time will tell if Zegler can overcome these challenges and reshape her narrative in the ever-watchful public eye.